Hey everybody, it's me, Liv. Welcome to another Salvage Sunday. So my daughter was playing and she created this page but didn't really love it. So I thought I'm going to go ahead and use it for this latest edition of a Salvage Sunday. So it is still a little wet, so I'm going to go ahead and take some of these gilding flakes. Anywhere that there's a little bit of slightly damp spots, this gold leaf will go ahead and stick to that. Now, as you can see, this orange that she did must have been pretty heavy because I got a whole big glob of gold that's sticking there. But that's okay. Again, this is going to be a Salvage Sunday, and I think it'll come out really cool. So for the next step, I'm going to go ahead and trim these down to a standard size of 5.5 by 4.25, and create actually 4 panels out of this. Once I have those all set, so then I have to figure out which pieces am I actually going to be using for my card fronts and which one I'm going to be using with my die cuts. Now I'm going to go ahead and apologize if you saw my fingers are already super gucky. I was working on a totally different mixed media project and I didn't get a chance to wash them before I started my new one. Plus it takes forever for me to get ink off my fingers, I find. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pick the ones, and I decided that these orange and yellow ones and this green one on the lower end, I'm going to take these die cuts. These die cuts are from Stamplerations. They are 2 beautiful, nice sized cuts that say celebrate big and make a wish. I'm needing to stock up on some birthday cards, so I figured this would be a nice way to do it. Went ahead and cut it out in my die cut machine, and then I also did another layer in a 120-pound cardstock, white, underneath it, just to make sure that it was strengthened a little bit before I popped it on. Now, if you're wondering what it is that I have underneath, I use a bounty sheet sometimes for some intricate dies because I find that I have to run them through a few times, and it helps them cut out a little bit finer and actually stick a little bit to the paper, to that wax underneath the bounce sheet. Sometimes doesn't work all the time, but it really does help a lot, especially with this type of paper. I'm using this because Yubo paper generally is like plasticky. It doesn't cut, I find, usually one time. I got to do it a couple times through, and that material that the bounce sheet comes from works really well. So enough with that babbling. Now that I have my die cuts out, I'm just trying to figure out exactly what my layout's going to be here. I ended up with 4 die cuts because I do hope to end up with 4 different cards here. So once I have that, again, like I said before, I'm going to go ahead and glue the colored part onto a white sheet of 120-pound cardstock, so that it is nice and sturdy. And then I'm going to do the same with all 4 of them. Now, because there's so much color on this, I thought I would try the alcohol lift ink here from Tim Holtz, the Ranger collection, to see if I can actually pull up some of this alcohol and give it a little bit more of a dimension and pattern on it. So I went ahead and put it in my stamping pad. I am using a 6x6 stamp from My Favorite Things. It is one of their most recent stamps. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 layers of the alcohol ink lift. Make sure I'm pressing down pretty firmly on it. And once I have that set, I'm going to take this piece off. Now you want to dab, not rub. That is the trick to first lift up that ink. And as you're dabbing, you'll start to see the pattern come out. So I'm not sure if you guys can see it that well here on camera, but now you can see how that pattern is finally starting to come up. Once that pattern is there, then you can rub to get the rest of the alcohol residue off. But this is such a cool and fun technique here. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the other cardstock that I have. But before I do that, you're going to find that when you do this, you're going to have some of the alcohol lift onto the stamp. So I don't know if you can see it, but it leaves you a nice, cool, negative effect. And you can stamp that on another piece. Now I'm going to repeat the same exact thing on the second one. And then I'm going to go ahead and start doing some shapes. So I decided I'm going to use a couple of my different border dies here to create a variety of shapes. So the first one is an angled one, and I thought I was just going to do the top part on it. But the problem with working with messy fingers is sometimes you have ink on them and then it leaves ink on white sheets. I did end up having to cover a little bit of ink that had come off of my fingers onto the white cardstock. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that sentiment down, and then this is the start of the first one. Then I'm going to go move on to the other one. Now, do you remember that negative print that we got from that stamp before, that left that pattern there of putting the alcohol ink onto a white cardstock? I decided I'm going to go ahead and pull it in. It wasn't a perfect print, but it was good enough that it would look really cool as a pattern underneath. So I'm going to put the pattern paper and then go ahead and put the other paper on top of it to break up a little bit of the monotony of too much white. So once I have that all set, I'm going to pull out one of my stamps, go ahead and glue that down. If you're wondering what I'm using some art glitter glue here. It's generally what I use. I haven't really tried many others, but art glitter glue really usually does the trick for me. So I'm going to go ahead and get that glued down and then move on to the third card here. Before I move on to that third card, this is the part in the video when I realized I had gotten some ink on that bottom part. So I thought if I went ahead and spread this out a little bit, it would create a cool pattern and let the white actually do a little bit of a breakup here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'll trim off any extra that's on the lower end. And this serves two purposes: to cover up any ink that got on the lower part of that white card. And then also got a little smidge on the inside, so I'm going to take a little strip here and cover it up there, and I'll just will stamp a sentiment probably later on. So once that is good, I'm going to go ahead finally and get on to that third card. So then for the third card, I'm just going to use the bottom half, go ahead and glue on the one that I trimmed off from the other card front that you saw me, and put it there. And then I will go ahead and add the sentiment of the Celebrate Big on there, because I think it matches a little bit better with the colors of the green in there that also is in the bottom part. Once I have that all situated, I'm going to actually do a little splashing. I have like an aversion to white. Don't ask me why. So I can't see too much white space before I start thinking it needs color. So why not add a little bit of splatters? Did some blue splatters to match the bottom half. Maybe even do a little bit of white splatters to break it up. Go ahead and glue that sentiment down. And then I can go ahead and move on to my fourth card. Now, the fourth card was truly a creative stretch because I did not have any more panels left since I had cut everything out. And I was thinking, how am I going to make this work? So then I thought I could actually use the negative pieces of one of them and create a card that way. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these down for that sentiment that says make a wish and figure out which one I want to use. Do I want to use this one, or should I move on to the other one? So I decided I'm going to go ahead and use that green piece that has some of the orange throughout of it, and then go ahead and fill in the sentiment there of the Make-A-Wish into its space there so that it pops out a little bit against it. Because it has these little die cuts, I thought it would be good to make sure that they're securely glued down. Take out my art glitter glue, push that down into that space, and ta-da, this card is pretty much done. So I, again, have a little bit of better version to the white space, so I thought I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit of splatters, pulling out the orange a little bit more. So I am going to get some of my Distress Oxide sprays. I believe this one is Spiced Marmalade, and go ahead and splatter it all over the card. And so now it is pretty much done. I just need to mount it onto a card base and we are ready to go. So I just hope you guys enjoyed this another episode of Salvage Sunday. Thank you to my daughter for creating this background and letting me work with it and not throwing it in the trash. And I hope whoever gets these really cool and funky and bright birthday cards enjoy them. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon. Take care. Bye.